Good morning, everybody. Today we are working with secants, tangents, and angle measurements. So these are the same notes we've been doing in our notebook, 44 through 49. So today we're going to talk about angles that are inside, on, and outside of the circle. So I concentrate more about where the circle is located rather than what makes up the angles. So in this picture right here, you can see that the angle that we are looking for is inside the circle. It is not the central, it is just inside. So inside is always half the sum. Remember, sum means add. So we're going to add up the two angles that those lines form, and we're going to take half that sum. Okay, so you can see here it says half the measure of arc PR and arc QS. If our angle is on the circle, so our angle is right here on the circle, whether we're looking at this one or this one. So if it's on the circle, we've talked about these a little bit, they are half the arc. Okay, so whatever the arc measurement that is created right here, the angle will be half of that arc. Okay, so there's two examples if you need to look through them. So half the sum if it's in, half the arc if it's on. Okay, let's look at our examples. So if we're trying to find angle 1, we're going to look at the two arcs that are created by these two lines. They are 40 and 52. Since the angle is inside, it's going to be half the sum. So half of 52 plus 40. Okay, so to figure that out, we're going to add 52 plus 40, which is 92. Half of 92 is 46. So angle 1 is 46 degrees. Measure of angle 2. Angle 2 is on the circle. So notice how the vertex is on the circle right here. So it's going to be half the arc it creates. So the arc it creates is 92. So we're going to do half of 92, which equals 46. All right. Angle 3 is on the circle. So we're going to look at the arc it creates. So the arc it creates is this one right here, which is 220. So we're going to take half of 220. Half of 220 is 110. Okay. Measure of angle 4. So we're going to have to do a little bit more work for this one. So a couple ways we can look at it. But I notice that this arc right here is 120. So this angle right here is going to be half of 120, which is 60. So this is 60 degrees. I also notice that this whole angle is 90 degrees. So if this portion is 60, we gotta figure out what is left to make 90. So 90 minus 60 tells me that whatever's left is 30 degrees. Angle 5, okay? So if I look at angle 5, the two arcs it creates are these two. I know nothing about them. So I'm going to use the angle or the arcs that I do know. So I have this arc and this arc. If I want to find this angle right here, I can do half the sum of 90 plus 130. 90 plus 130 is 220. Half of 220 is 110. So this angle is 110. So is this one. If I want to find measure of angle 5 now, notice these two are a straight line. Remember, straight lines create 180 degrees. So 180 minus 110 leaves me with 70 degrees. Okay. Angle 6. Again, two ways that I can do this. What I'm going to look at is, remember, a whole circle all the way around is 360. I've already got 160. So what is left? 360 minus 160 is 200 degrees. Now I can see that the arc created is going to be half of the arc. So half of 200 tells me that the measure of angle 6 is 100 degrees. Okay. These were on and inside. This page talks about circles that are outside. So the way I remember this is it's going to be half the difference. Okay. Remember, difference means subtraction. It does not matter if it's made out of secants, tangents and secants, or two tangents. If the angle that you are trying to find or the angle that's in the picture is outside of the circle, it's always going to be half the difference of the arcs that are created. So there's an example there that walks you through it. Let's do our couple examples. So angle 1 is outside of the circle. So we're going to do half the difference of the two arcs it creates. So notice this angle creates these two arcs. So we're going to do the bigger one minus the smaller. 80 minus 40 is 40. Half of 40 tells me that the angle is 20 degrees. If you are wondering how I know which arcs it creates, if I look at the angle, I'm going to look at the portion of the circle that is between the sides of the angle. So this one and that's that one. That's how I know those are the arcs that I create. Measure of angle 2. Again, it's outside. All of these are outside. This will be half the difference. So here I have this arc and this arc. So I have 160 minus 80. 160 minus 80 is 80. Half of 80 is 40. Measure of angle 3. As always, it's outside. So it creates this arc and this arc. But if you notice, I only know the 220. If you look at the two arcs, though, it shows that I covered the whole circle. Remember, the whole circle is 360 degrees. 360 minus 220 tells me that this piece has to be 140. Okay, so to find out measure of angle 3, half the difference. 220 minus 140 is 80. Half of 80 is 40 degrees. Question 4. We're finding x this time. So same idea. The angle is still outside. The two arcs it creates are these ones. This time, though, I am given the angle. It's 20. And I'm finding half the difference of 70 minus x. Okay. Couple ways to solve this equation. So tend to like to distribute inside of parentheses. 20 equals 35 minus 1 half x. I'm going to subtract 35 from both sides. Negative 15 equals negative 1 half x. The only thing attached to the x is still the negative 1 half. So I'm going to divide both sides by negative 1 half. And x equals 30 degrees. Okay. If you're not comfortable with your calculations, of course, you can use the calculator. All right. Question 5. So question 5 is similar to question 3 right about this, where they don't give me enough information. I gotta know I gotta use what I know about circles. So the arcs it creates are this one, and I'm gonna use a different color. This one. Remember in this question up here, to find this, we did 360 minus that arc. Well, we don't have a measurement, we just have an x. So we're gonna still do 360 minus our x because we don't know what it is. We're finding it. All right, so my angle equals 1 half of the difference of 360 minus x minus x. Okay, I am going to simplify inside my parentheses before I try to distribute. X minus x is negative 2x. Now I'm going to distribute my 1 half inside. 50 equals 180 minus x. Subtract 180. Negative 130 equals negative x. course, we don't want negatives. We're going to change both of our signs, and x equals 130. Okay. If you want to, check it. This would be 230. C, does 230, half of 230 minus 130 equal 50? And it does. Okay. All right, last one. Find an x. Still, x is outside. All of these are outside. The arcs it creates are 100, and this one that I don't know, but I know the rest of the measurements. Remember, circles are 360 degrees. So if I want to find what's left, 360 minus 110 minus 100, oops, minus 80. Okay, so what is that? 170. Okay, so now I can do what I've been doing, half of the difference. Oops, it's not x. I know what it is, it's 70. So 100 minus 70 is 30. Half of 30 is 15 degrees. Okay. After you viewed this, work on the assignment. Remember, it's the next 2 pages. If you have any questions, please send me a message and let me know.